All right, Nick. Well, things were good before. Not look at that. All right. Nick, we saw Austin Theory in his new role, auditioning for the Vision tonight in the main event. I have to say, I thought they closed some loopholes. Last week, people were asking, why did he wear the mask? What was the purpose of that? And they were also asking, did Paul Heyman know? What is he doing? And now he answered all those questions. He was wearing the mask because he didn't essentially want people prejudging his actions. They wanted people to see his actions and then process what was happening and what this masked man was doing before knowing who it was. And so his timing was, he felt he had accomplished what he needed to accomplish, and he unmasked. And now he said the Vision inspired him. And he wants to he saw the Vision taking what they wanted. Now he wants to take what he wants. He wants to join the Vision. I thought they covered the explanation really well. And I thought Theory came across well being serious. He didn't look like someone who's not serious, pretending to be serious, but that is up for conversation. Nick, what did you think?
I think you're right that was the high point in terms of the explanation. It seemed to make sense, and it was so succinctly said and said early on that it was like, oh, that actually does make good sense of why he'd be wearing a hood. You know, it took away some of the sting of the reveal being someone who was so obvious, and that there didn't need to be a hood attached to it, right? Because it's just Austin Theory. They could have done that reveal at Survivor Series, but it gave that pause that was there between his return and then the unmasking. It gave it a sense of sense, actually, which is what it needed to do. If there wasn't going to be more masked men running around, there had to be a reason attached, and I think that they notched that off the list. I think that was the high point, and that's not good news for what I think happened with Austin Theory for the rest of the show. I like Austin Theory. I've always liked him. I think there was a good performance about him throughout the show that wasn't meeting the commentary that was being said about him. They were, posing him as this real confident and newly inspired guy. When
renegade.
Yeah, and when actually I thought he seemed tentative throughout the entire time through his performance. Now, maybe that wasn't intentional. In fact, I'd argue it wasn't. But I think what we're seeing is someone whose confidence is probably a little bit shaken by how the past couple of years have gone about his career. And I'm sorry, you want to say he's the renegade, that he's this newly inspired guy, but he would have lost the main event if someone didn't interfere on his behalf. So I think there was a lot more that could have been done that would have elevated him and made him seem like he was really being invested in. I think he's going to be invested in time-wise. I don't think the presentation did a whole lot. And quite frankly, the haircut worked last week as being a surprise reveal. There's times where I feel like it failed him today. It made him look like a little kid trying to really look tougher. We all remember that kid in high school or whatever who had longer hair and then he buzzed it to look like tougher, or someone who was going in the army, that type of look they're going for. Mm-hmm. But he's got a soft face, right? And it worked well with his old look. So that's just my note.
Yeah, no, I think I think the jury is out, to use a cliche, on whether it's going to work out. I think it is, even within WWE. I mean, he has not been asked to step into a serious role that has kind of a sinister vibe to it that seems threatening. I liked his pants, like how his ring gear was good. I'm fine with his haircut, but I agree with you. There's something about his appearance that, there's a reason he played the dopey guy. And he was dopey in NXT with Gargano and Candice, and he was kind of dopey with Grayson. I think in the ring there was an intensity and a credibility and a viciousness to what he was doing, but it's interesting because I think him saying he wanted to let his actions speak for themselves before people, quote, knew who he was, is acknowledging something about him that is baggage, that is something he has to overcome. And the question is, the announcing tonight leaned on he didn't take things seriously. He took bad advice. He hung with the wrong people, all those things. I love that they owned that. Mm-hmm. They need to acknowledge what everybody at home's thinking. Why should we take this guy seriously now? You need to have a transformational moment where you go, okay, something that held this guy back before. There's a life-changing event. Something happened. He got hurt. He didn't take advantage of whatever that thing with Cena was. I don't know what he was supposed to do. Cena buried him, but but he didn't. And they moved him into a mid-card comedy role. And now the question is he going to be another guy on the list of Heyman, main eventers that Heyman works with? He was talking with Stephanie McMahon on her podcast about, when he works with somebody, he really works with them. He says, I tell them, what can trigger you to be angry? What can trigger you to cry? What can trigger you to laugh? I need to know those things because I will utilize them to get you to step up when I need you to step up in a certain role in a certain way. So Theory's in good hands. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be. But I am not against them trying this, Nick. I think it is. I agree. I'm real clear that he's worth trying on this. But I don't know that this is going to work. I don't think he'll be cut if it doesn't work. I just think he'll move down the card again, and I don't know. But I think there's a really solid chance this works out fine too.
I think that I think there's a good chance. I think, first of all, I think when he's had to show up really big in the ring, I feel like he has. I think that especially for his U.S. title run, there were some really good matches. He's always been able to hang, and I think been able to hang at an intense level if he needs to. I think what I'm more reacting to is the, there's a lot here that seems very intentional to get him from point A to point B. Of the old Theory, the haircut is gone. The ring attire, which you said you like, I thought that everything seemed, like I said, very, very intentional. We're supposed to hide the features of his body, so we're gonna put these baggy pants on him with a square that takes away the jokes on Twitter that exist from him. And there's just a lot that was there that it was just like, let's strip him back. But ultimately, Wade, he has to have a personality. What needs to carry him is something that is going to be magnetic for people to be drawn to. And I think that ultimately is what has been missing. And I don't know that he's going to find it in this character, especially, if his confidence has been rocked along the way, to have him juxtaposed against the Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, who are operating from a very confident level. I think even on the screen today, I think he wilted in his moments with them verbally. His voice failed him. I actually would argue in those moments. The words came out. They came across a little bit more memorized, a little bit more scripted than the others. He needs to get comfortable fast before sticking out as the run of the litter. And I think it's possible he does it. He seems like a determined, hardworking guy. You have to be, right? If you're in that kind of shape, you're going to be a motivated, determined person. Let's see it translate to a character. But again, I just am also just leaving the show today struck by this guy was the, assassin that came in and was, supposed to be, striking fear into everybody involved. Nobody knew who this guy was, the renegade, all this stuff. And then he would have gotten pinned if he wasn't pulled out of the pin. And that wasn't necessary. I didn't think. I also didn't think it was so great to have him be in the ring with CM Punk, who couldn't be bothered to take off his shirt. He wasn't in such a threatened state that he didn't even go to that next level of intensity. That stuff matters, actually. Wade, you're muted.
I always get the notice on flashing on my screen saying, "You fool, you muted yourself when you're talking." It knows. I think that they're going for quiet assassin with him, soft-spoken quiet assassin. I think they think that he's someone who's been battered and beaten down and now is hyper-focused on achieving more. And he is in a period of transition where he is not sure himself of what he's aiming to achieve. He wants to take it. I think there's a story to tell with him sort of being the more soft-spoken assassin. There's a certain rhythm to what he's saying, but it is not fully formed yet. It is in that the opening line with Heyman. This is a pre-tape show. I was surprised they didn't redo that. Right. I thought when Heyman walked up to him and he goes, what are you doing here? What's going on? And he goes, I wanted to, and he used like this weird passive voice. Mm-hmm. The scripting wasn't good. I felt like I wanted to do this and I wanted that. No, say I want to do this and I did this. It was weird. Like, yeah, like Heyman said, "What are you doing here?" And it was like, he's like, "Oh, I want to tell you what I want to say when I'm on TV," as opposed to this is what I'm saying when I'm on TV. Yeah. And I rewound it. I'm like, am I being picky about this? Just my kind of editor writing mind. Like, I wouldn't let someone write that without saying, no, we need an active voice and all that. So I was surprised that his wording wasn't good and that other people didn't recognize and go, wait, we need you to be more forward leaning on this. But it's week one. And I do think there's no question. He's a 28-year-old guy who people have written off. And now he's got the number one main event star maker in this industry and Paul Heyman gambling on him. He's got to feel nervous. I mean, I when I think he came across, I think he passed tonight he passed the first week if you account or accommodate for this is a real change from who we've seen him be, and he's been comfortable in his skin in his other roles, being the dopey guy. So there's talent there, but can it be a talent that shifts to you seeing him as sinister and threatening and serious? And I think I'm willing to give him. I mean, I want to give him time. I mean, I'm not sold on Braun Breaker yet myself. Like, I mean, he's further along, but
come on, Wade.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not sold. I mean, I'm sold on him being a top guy. I'm not sold on him being a top draw. I'm still not sold on his promos. Right. I mean, of course he's going to be a top guy. He's passing enough tests to do that. He's way ahead of theory. But like, is he going to be a guy who people are going to tune into and watch like Roman Reigns? I'm not convinced of that yet with his promos. But let's save that topic for Block B.
I'm not going into that. I'm telling you, I want to be even pickier than you are with the first scene.
Yeah.
You want him to be this mysterious guy with a whole lot of, explaining to do. And he shows up in an ugly tan motor jacket. I mean, come on. And I know that sounds stupid, but that was an automatic visual fail for me. If he came in, so much about him was that the overly glossy look, right? Like if he had shown up in the hooded sweatshirt, but not having it over his head, that would have done a lot more for me, actually, to say, okay, now we're entering into this guy who doesn't really care. It's not about the looks right now. But that was a terrible jacket. And you don't have the new heel in light tan. I mean, come on.
All right, very good. Are you going to get yourself back on camera, by the way? Your camera's off? Your camera's been off this whole time.
No, it's on as far as I can see, but this is the iPad.
People in the chat said you went away, and I haven't seen you come back. So maybe... you're blacked out. Chat room, is he blacked out to you guys too? Is someone in the chat learn how? Oh, I can't see Nick. Okay, I thought it said I can. So maybe leave the room and come back in, or just because I'll do introductions now, Nick, and you log out, log back into the little link.
Okay, hold on. How do I? Okay, I gotta figure out how to log out.
I don't know. All right, so let's set the table here. It's a special holiday week episode here of the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show on Monday, December 22nd, 2025. We had a pre-taped episode of Raw tonight and an abbreviated version of Raw tonight, just over an hour and a half in length. It just went by in a breeze. Someone in the chat was like, hey, this would be kind of a nice length every week for that. Hey, if now that SmackDown's going back to 3 hours, maybe Raw will get a little bit shorter again, because it seemed like Raw got a little longer once SmackDown went back to 2 hours. It's like they have a certain number of minutes that they want to get in a quota every week, and it doesn't matter where it comes in, whether it's the quota is more on Raw or more on SmackDown. Nick, you are back. We can see you, so that's good news. I don't know. Is it good news? Let's do a poll. I'm kidding.
So the problem was I went to read what the chat said. You shouldn't.
You froze.
Never. You should.
Well, you know what, Nick? It was great when we could hear you. Now we can see you frozen, but we can't hear you. So your iPad or your Wi-Fi is letting us down. Well, as you can tell, my co-host tonight is Nick Barbati, and he is he is the star, often the solo star now, of his own podcast, his own VIP podcast called Nicky's Club, and he talks WWE on a weekly basis for VIP members. So we hope Nick gets back in. He's on an iPad tonight. He was worried about it. Now, I mean, as Sean Plitchta says, Nick, this is ridiculous. Yeah, he's still frozen there. Nick, you're gonna have to reboot or something. So anyway, we're here to talk Raw. It's just a crazy holiday episode. Whatever. We got some good stuff to talk about though, including more on Austin Theory. The chat has a lot to say about Austin Theory too, and we'll get more into that. Nick, you are back. Sean Plichta says, Nick, this is ridiculous. You're getting scolded by your podcast partner there.
We're going to make this work. it's a Christmas special, so you gotta deal with some of these issues.
Real Legend said Sean is going to cash in his co-host in the bank, LOL, and take over.
That would allow me to go to bed. So by all means, Sean. Although I want it noted, I predicted this to Wade.
You did.
Yesterday, I said, I'm both on an iPad. I feel like there were issues with this in the past. So I'm on my phone now, and I'm holding it up. So we're good.
Yeah. Now, Derek Hubbard says, it looks like Nick is wearing a tan-colored jacket just like Austin Theory. So do you want to explain the difference or why it works on you and
Derek, not? If I was on camera, you would have seen me smirk when I said that with the irony. But the heels should not be in tan on TV, but they should definitely be it when they're on PWTorch.
And Nick, just because the technical problems are fun. I don't know if it's where your hand is placed, but we're having it's harder to hear you right now. Move your hand away from your head and now talk, and let's see if we can hear you better again.
All right. This is ridiculous, guys.
You're good. You're now you sound better.
I am ready to go just tag out. But I again predicted this yesterday, so whatever.
I don't your position was better before, just without your hand there. Now we're seeing you've got your head is smaller because the camera's so far back.
Oh my God, Wade! I can't with you. I literally can't.
Sean, stand by.
Send me a PWTorch laptop, and this won't.
All you have to do is just lower your chair or tilt the iPad a little forward.
It's my phone, Wade. Leave it
you're
alone.
on your phone now, not your iPad.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No,
all right.
I had to.
This is good. Really, in this holiday week, it's about me, not the listeners, and I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying giving our time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we are live, and the chat is going. And if you want to join us in the chat, if you're watching us live on the PWTorch YouTube channel, join in the chat. We'll put your comments on the air. We're about to do a bunch of comments on Austin Theory in a minute here. You can also email the show, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. And you can also be a video caller. And we've got Sean Plichta standing by to join us. And also CJ wants to talk about Bailey and maybe something else. We will see how that goes. Speaking of Bailey, CJ says Bailey would call Nick an idiot, LOL. Because that's her thing.
Why did I do this show again?
I don't know.
If I'm just going to be abused in here.
Yes, I know. I blame the chat. I don't know. Yeah. I am not participating. I'm just passing along what they're saying.
Of course. Yes.
I'm being very nice to you and the time you're giving us. Sean says great podcasting. Okay. So, the bit's fun, but Nick, it's good to have you here. While you were gone, I plugged your VIP show. Tell people about Nikki's Club.
Yeah, the Nikki's Club. First of all, it's a show that I've really come to love doing, and Wade, I thank you all often on the show for the outlet. It's about a 45 minute to an hour look at the week in WWE from my perspective, and a lot of times it's just me going, and making commentary as if you're talking to me on the phone. I would say for the week, and I am a talker, so typically if you were to ask me about wrestling and then hit record, that's what you would get, is basically what the Nikki's Club is. And we're infusing guests, every so often in it, but it's really just, I want people to feel like they're my friends by listening to the show and how I view wrestling. Sometimes I don't really love, for me personally, getting into all of the dynamics of the backstage elements and whatnot. For me, it's about what's on the camera and how I feel as a viewer, and I think that's what that show represents. And hopefully you give it a shot. I would love to have you guys out there and interacting with me, sending me your thoughts. Brian Austin sent me a great long email last week, and I dedicated the show to it. I would love more of that.
Well, go VIP, everybody, and listen, make appointment listening, the Nikki's Club, VIP membership, pwtorch.com/govip. You can sign up with a credit card, debit card, PayPal, Patreon, Spotify, or your Apple account, pwtorch.com/govip. Compatible, by the way, with Apple Podcasts native app on iPhone. That's not the case with a lot of password-protected premium podcast services. You get an email. There's a link. You click on it. It just signs you up on your phone. You can also break it down into specific shows. If you just want to catch up on the Nikki's Club, you can subscribe just to that feed. and just to the Wade Keller podcast feed or the Wade Keller hotline feed or the Fix or everything or the 90s Past Cast, like individual shows, and then clusters of shows. The retro, we have a whole way to split the feed to current events versus retro and flashback shows. So very customizable, works with just about every podcast app out there. You can also just stream it right from our mobile-friendly website or desktop-friendly website if you prefer to stream. So lots of content there. Oh, and the free shows like this one that you might be discovering on our free podcast feed or YouTube has commercials. You go commercial-free with the podcast for all our free shows, the Daily Cast and the Wade Keller post shows and podcasts. So, and you unlock like 4 decades of archives when you do a full VIP membership. You get an ad-free website and a lot of VIP features. All right, so let's shift to the comments in the chat, Nick, on Austin Theory. Yeah. So we've got a variety of opinions, understandably so, on this. So Mitchell says, I understand your point about Theory's haircut, Nick, but similar to Randy Orton and Kyle Fletcher getting buzz cuts during their character transformations, I don't mind the buzz cut on Theory. Yeah. Did it work on them and for some reason not on Theory? Is there something about his face or his...
He has softer features. I mean, he naturally has, first of all, warmer eyes, more full lips, all that stuff. That kind of stuff matters. But by the way, I'm not against them trying the look. What I'm saying is the juxtaposition of it with, the harsher type, like, uniform that he was wearing, to me, it made him look, it looked too soft in the facial region. And looked like he was, dressing up a little. But the hair is going to grow out. He'll find a happy medium, and I think it'll be fine.
So he's playing a rugged assassin, but he's just a little too pretty to be believable.
Yeah.
I mean, broadly categorically.
Yeah. No, I think that's accurate. I do.
Yeah. Okay. Sadler says, I was just happy that he came off believable as wanting to be serious. It didn't feel like a goof trying to be cool and tough. So for Sadler, he passed the test as genuinely being a serious person. There are people who are serious people, genuinely, but they have soft features. And that's the best you can do for Theory, unless he's going to end up. Yeah.
There's a very real experience that every human has seen from when they were growing up in, their hometown, for the kid who was the high school goof or a high school star who then goes through a tough time, and then you can see them get a little bit more serious. That is in movies, that's in, TV, it's in real life for everyone to experience. The story makes sense. The character isn't out of, the realm of possibility. It's now about the performance, Wade. It's about, like you said, about that scripted initial moment. And then just things coming across with him a little too stiff. They need to find his voice in the writing. And I think that is what's missing a bit, is just getting a personality. So, yes, you want to strip away the goofy personality from before. But it doesn't mean you just don't have a personality, period. Like the opposite of that doesn't have to be he's just saying very stiff lines. I mean, there can be still something to him, and they just got to figure out what it is.
Yeah, if you take everything that made him interesting to some people in his previous roles, and that he was naturally steered or directed towards more comedic or dopey or goofball roles or comedy, you strip that all away. There's got to be something that replaces it.
Right.
And the question is, can he develop that? Like Adam Kidd says, his speaking tonight didn't feel natural at all. Did not feel natural at all.
I agree. I actually totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I think it's better than that, but there's work to be done. I think there was genuine nervousness, and I don't think they served him well by, I don't know, maybe that was the 17th take, and they're like, we got to get to work. But I didn't like the wording. That passive voice bothered me more than anything, because it felt like he was saying words that he thought about rather than saying words that he felt. And it's just so yeah. I mean, they said last week, this is not guaranteed to work just because Heyman's taking a chance on him. But the thing is and I think we have a comment on this. He could end up connected to Seth Rollins and either turn on the group or get rejected from the group, or he rejects the group, or Breaker and Reed reject him. There is a chance, because of the stomp and the fact that there is a history there, there's a plan for him to maybe stay with the Vision, but maybe the actual ultimate, like the main goal right now, is for him to turn on them or leave them, or I don't even know, because that essentially mean he turns babyface, or he'd be a heel turning on other heels, and I don't know if that's the best route either. My inclinations think the stomp is more red herring than a clue of what's to come, but I'm definitely not ruling out the possibility that Seth ends up having sent him as a secret agent, perhaps to undercut, be a spy within the Vision, and then turn babyface and rejoin Seth.
Yeah, I think that's probably a best case scenario for this moment. I mean, because here's the thing, Wade. Too much, unfortunately, lately with WWE, there was a time where you would I hope that the little things mattered, and they were going to be building up to a greater story. And in the past year or so, I don't think those little things seem to matter storytelling wise. But why else would he come in and do Seth Rollins' moves, like right, as the assassin? Does that not lead to something? Does that not matter? And for him to be, pseudo masquerading as Seth Rollins. And I also would say, there's plenty of time before Seth Rollins is back, but he's probably in a stage, if he's going to be, having a rougher launch than, in my opinion, than I think others are seeing right now, perhaps. He probably still needs to be mentored by someone with an in-ring performance. I mean, Paul Heyman can do so much, but I think there's also there probably would be benefit from him having a big brother in the ring that will help get him, through some of those days.
Nick, the chat, I'm adjusting my volume, but the chat says they're having trouble. A couple of people said they could barely hear you. I don't know if you want to talk a little closer to your phone or whatever. We're adjusting on the fly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, blame. It's Real Legend goes, Nick sounds muted, and Jack Reeves said, I can barely hear Nick. Sean Plichta, your buddy, says, I can hear him okay, I guess. A little low.
All right. Well, let me go back to the iPad for a minute. You keep talking, Wade.
Yeah. CJ says, yeah, Nick's audio is very low. So
okay.
I'm just the messenger. It's also, they're also speaking truth, but I'm just the messenger of truth. Okay. All right. So some other comments in here. Derek Hubbard said, Theory had a Marine look to me. The assassin fits the visual. He looked physically intimidating to me, and his poise fit the optics. And I'm on board with that. I mean, it's the small sample size. You can tell there's a little nervousness. It's not polished. But I think I get what they're doing, and I don't think anything tonight in any way disqualified him, that this will work. They also might augment it or work a little closer. It's weird timing going into the holidays also on this, where you don't, there's kind of a little lost momentum, but maybe that's extra time to work on some things. Derek Hubbard also says, Theory's demeanor in the backstage segments was promising. He speaks with confidence and self-assurance. This was a good start for Theory. His selling and bump taking will help his older opponents. And that's a big thing too. Theory is an athlete, and they have an aging main event core, as evidenced by the fact that I complained about John Cena not putting young guys over, and then I looked at the roster and said, I don't know who we can put over. There's nobody young. There's Dominic, he's 29, 28, whatever it was. And then there's Gunther, who is 39 going on 40. He was the second youngest person that Cena, worked with in any meaningful way. It didn't work. It wasn't the right time for Breakker to face him. It wasn't the right time for Theory to face him either. So, I don't know what ends up happening in terms of does it stick or not, and what's the intended storyline. But I definitely think we need a larger sample size. And I mean, we can do I'll probably put a poll up on Theory, because I do think there's going to be different opinions on him. And I just thought it was a mixed bag. But one thing is factual. When you look at the roster right now, who is going to be main eventing in 5 years for WWE at WrestleMania? You've got Braun Breaker. You've got who else? Your iPad went out again, Nick. Sorry to tell you that.
I'm here. Are you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine, but the picture went out again. So we get
right.
good audio, but no picture on one. I can actually double put you on both on camera with one and audio on the other. So, but they need young guys. They need young guys. Theory is, as Derek pointed out, good bump taker. He's a good athlete. He looks credible. He's got a marketable look. Triple H and Stephanie aren't going to come back. The authorities aren't going to come back and go, well, we can't have you as a face of the company. Theory is a face of the company with his look. if his role is believable and marketable. Like, he doesn't look like a guy you're like, this isn't a star. He looks like a star. The question is, what is his personality that's going to latch on and connect and draw? And you can be a good athlete and a good-looking guy with a good physique and still not connect. We've seen plenty of those. But I agree I think he's the right guy to take a chance on with the depth chart as it stands right now, which is not great. I mean, it's like Obafemi and then who, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Wade, here's the other thing is, you got to feel for the guy as an actual person, not just a performer, in terms of the shots that had been sent his way over the past couple years. Listen, it's you think that there's a pretty privilege for really good looking young people who have great physiques and, all this other stuff. But if you are him and you have dreams, right, of being a star wrestler and being a main eventer and achieving the highest levels that a performer possibly can. And, I would argue he has been treated overly harshly by people in terms of his performance because of the potential that was put on his name. So what if you're him, what do you see every time you're reading an article about him? What do you see? Like every time you go onto Twitter, every time you see anything, he's looks the part, and like just tearing apart almost every other element of him. You have to think his confidence has been shaken. And I feel like that was reflected quite a bit actually tonight. It's ironic. I mean, it was probably almost more comfortable the last couple of times when he was under the hood because they didn't have the pressures of being Austin Theory. I think, was tonight a star-making performance? No. I think, did it need to be? Kind of, yeah, I actually do. I don't think he stepped into anything. Now, it's not a failed night, I think, by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think anyone's more excited to see Austin Theory after tonight. I think now he's going to be accepted as being a more, ensemble part of the show. But this was not a rocket ship strapped to him. I didn't think at all. And that's going to have to just be fine.
I didn't expect anything better than this from him, and I'm not as down on what we got as you are. I think it's going to be a work in progress. I mean, I think WWE sees him as a work in progress, and this is the thing. Who are you going to put in the spot if not him? I mean,
right.
Who are you going to give TV time who isn't 41 years old like Damian Priest or 39 years old like Gunther? And Gunther's great. I mean, he's channeling Ted DiBiase's laugh. We can get into that, laughing about the John Cena thing. He's having a great time rubbing it in. But there was a big drop-off in terms of guys in their late 20s. They had Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose at one point, along with others, frankly. But those are, kind of the big three who were late 20s. It totally makes sense. Totally makes sense to say, all right, Theory's injured. He's been off TV for a while. Let's drop the whole Grayson Waller thing. If Paul Heyman believes in him, and it's pretty clear he believes he's a project we're trying with, let's see if we can make it work. What do we got to lose? You have a mix with Braun Breaker on his way up and see what happens. In terms of the list of potential future stars, Derek Hubbard just says 2026 is going to be a fun year to watch because you got Austin Theory, Jovan Evans, we'll talk about him later, Obafemi, Carmelo Hayes. Oh yeah, he's in there. He's in early 30s, right? Braun Breaker, Dominic, and maybe Trick Williams. They can all level up in 2026. It's good. It's not excellent, but it could turn out excellent. It could turn out excellent if Jovan sticks as a 21-year-old and they protect him and he just is ready and connects with the audience. Obafemi is very promising and stands out as he's in a category of his own. Carmelo Hayes has taken a journey to get there, but he could end up being kind of a borderline second-tier, top-tier guy. Braun Breaker, they are determined with, and I think he'll be a suitable top guy. I just don't know if he'll be Roman Reigns level. We'll see. What I've seen so far, I'm still looking like for my franchise WrestleMania centerpiece star of the next era.
Yeah.
I'm still looking around, but I'm not panicked because of Braun Breaker, but I'm looking around to see maybe if he doesn't grow, then there's someone else who might be more ensemble or he moves down a spot. Dom's great. I don't know what his ceiling is, but he's been a joy to watch, and he could be a surprise who leapfrogs everybody. I don't rule that out. Trick Williams, it's up and down on him too. So I don't know. I mean, it's Nick, that's what I love. I mean, I say this all the time. One of my favorite things about wrestling is the journey that people go on, watching them have a new goal, try to rise up the ranks, and it's not just about moves, you know, and blood and high spots. Like, I like to see, do they connect with the audience? Do they embrace him as a star? And then and watching that happen. And if it was guaranteed to work, it'd be less fun. There's no guarantee with most of the people I just mentioned where their path is going, but they all are chosen right now. It's not a class of prospects that feels like WWE should be comfortable. There's work to be done, but it still could work out. So, Nick, your thoughts?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think there's reading all those names, which that was a great list. I mean, there's an understanding that you can be surprised either way by every single one of them. You could see it going really, really well or going really, really off the tracks. Now, I'll use Carmelo Hayes as an example of someone in there who maybe personally I'm willing for the most to have the most success, admittedly. So I want to just share my bias there. But, you know, there's a point where if others don't connect in any big way, he could be like a Shawn Michaels type from, you know, what year would we talk about? 90, 94, then 95, where he then started getting more opportunities and then started, you know, he was there and he had some fine years, but then it's like, you know what, but he's been more consistent and little things start connecting a little bit more. And you can see an opportunity for him maybe that when you first look at the list, you go, well, he hasn't broken through yet, so it might not happen. It could still happen, I think, for nearly anybody on that list. Now, here's the thing, Wade, what I would say is you're right. I don't have the next Roman Reigns jumping off the page from the list of the prospects that we're looking at here, but I don't really want to see another Roman Reigns, although I know what you're saying is you
categorically, yeah, not a carbon copy, but someone who connects in that way.
I understand, but I think is the next Roman Reigns is probably going to be completely unlike anything we have ever seen, period. Yep. And that gives room for someone like a Dominic Mysterio, and I'm just going to throw him out there. Yep. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But, you know, who's to say that this super charismatic, just really likable character couldn't at some point break through in such a big way in a mainstream kind of capacity that doors that you didn't even know existed could be opened? I mean, these things are very, very possible.
John Cena was not the John Cena that turned into the big star, the jorts wearing color, you know, candy colored merch guy saying hustle to respect. That was not a Vince McMahon vision. That was just something that caught on.
Right.
Vince is like, got it. Okay, this is working. Let's lean into this. Let's amplify this. Steve Austin was an accident. You know, I mean, there was a time when there was a big rebellion. If you lived through it in real time, you know, the wrestling got stale and WWE was kind of cartoonish. And, you know, and I you know, Vince Russo was listening to Howard Stern and he was an edgy young guy and he was sitting in these meetings with these old bookers saying things that he's just rolling his eyes at and he couldn't bite his tongue, believe it or not. And Bill Watts brought him in so the magazine would be more current. And then as the story goes and Russo spoke up, Vince goes, you know what? We need someone who's challenging me. And then Steve Austin shows up at their doorstep and he just cut this rebellious promo in ECW about Eric Bischoff as boss and boom. And then, but you know, of course, when we say about not having a vision for someone, McMahon brings in Austin, calls him the ringmaster, puts it with $1 Million Man, who at that point had turned into a cartoon promo. He lost all that edge he had in the 80s. That's who Austin Theory should watch some tapes of, is vintage Mid-South Teddy DiBiase. I mean, not to carbon copy him, but to get some idea if you want to be kind of a sinister assassin with a black glove, the black glove era Teddy DiBiase. But and then Austin, people just going nuts for him when he's facing Savio Vega. They're reacting the wrong way on this house show circuit. And then Vince like, okay, we got something here. Drop DiBiase. Let's let this, the best talker in the business had a spokesperson because Vince didn't like his Texas twang or whatever it was. So accidents happen. And I'm saying this to back up your positing that that Dominic might be a surprise.
The one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Austin Theory could stumble upon something. Braun Breaker can just find something that doesn't feel like, I don't know. I shouldn't even say. It's a whole bit other topic.
What is your promo hesitancy? Too much trying to emulate his uncles, like his uncle. Like what was? Because wait, full disclosure, I actually haven't heard your take on the two most recent promos for him. But you know what's the hesitancy?
I thought his promos were good. I resented, and I thought it was counterproductive to hit us over the head in the announcing, and even Paul Heyman and Logan Paul telling us how great it was. I think we should
Yeah,
have
I agree.
decided.
I agree. And that
Yep.
la-di-da moment, I don't know if you heard me say
Yep.
that. I hated it. Hated
Yep.
it. I thought that was so stupid.
So the thing, I think he's a work in progress. And I think
get
if he
it.
starts believing his own press, he's going to stall, and he is 70% of where he needs to be a top guy. And the ingredients are there. He's got a good look. But even on the vignette tonight, this heavily produced vignette with over the top music, like tone this down. We like the music that they put in the background of these over. It's I just feel like it's like pipe bomb throwing superstar. Michael Cole said that about Punk.
So you know what's funny you say that, because I actually thought that there was a real even having him and this is going to sound ridiculous considering I was just championing him up a few moments ago, but he did one of the backstage segments when he and Bronson Reed, he looked weaker than Bronson Reed in terms of even just being on camera, which it actually surprised me in the moment. I was like, oh, well, I am really surprised by that, considering how strong of a past few weeks he has. He looks like the best friend.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Everybody loves Bronson Reed backstage. He is an adult. He is an adult in that locker room. Okay. He is beloved. He is smart. He is has a natural. He carries himself like a natural leader, and that's why he's getting this. That's why they kept trying like different things with him, and they need to disappear. That didn't work. We got to wait for the right time, and then Heyman. It was just I mean, the chemistry with Reed is still developing, and the dynamic with Braun Breaker is still developing. Logan's a weird fit. We haven't talked about that. But that's fun. Like I'm kind of tilting my head at like what's going on here, but it's fun. It's different. So, but Reed is the adult in that room, other than Paul Heyman. Breaker there's a lot of pressure on him. His promo was declared the promo of the year when I thought it was just a very good promo. Good sign. We're working our way towards where we want to go, but they hit us over the head and said, no, this is great. It's a main event promo. It was very meta. Todd Martin was right. Like the main criticism of that is, why does Braun Breaker care if he can cut a promo? Like, don't say that on TV. He should care about kicking ass and winning titles. It totally goes against his badass character that he would care what people think about how he talks. Of course, in real life, behind the scenes, you got to be a good talker, and that's a concern. But don't bring that. This isn't WWE Unreal. Like, that shouldn't stay for WWE Unreal. So I think that was a misstep. But to wind it back a little bit too, like tying this into Austin Theory, I think it's a misstep for Michael Cole to compare Austin Theory to CM Punk. I would have like, oh, CM Punk might relate to Austin Theory because he was a renegade who it's like their paths are not the same. Punk knew who he was from the beginning in ROH. And Punk off camera, I know I've seen it. Like, he's the same guy off camera that he was on camera, just, demeanor wise. And just, I mean, Punk knew who he was, and he was determined to be who he was. And it's like a brute force quit on a computer that just won't, it's like brute force quit. Like, he was just brute forcing his way into this industry. And he was like, I'm going to either succeed or fail being who I am. Austin Theory is completely different. He's done comedy stuff. I just thought that was tone deaf and forced, just like the Braun Breaker promo of the year declaration, and Logan Paul's, going, whoa, drop it, whatever the mic drop thing was. Stop it. Like, just let people experience it. Don't be telling us ahead of time things that don't ring true, or it's going to feel like you're trying to con us or manipulate us. And you don't want the type of blowback against any of them that Reigns and Cena got, or that Lex Luger got going way back, where it's just like, okay, we know you picked him, and you're telling us he's ready, but let us decide that for ourselves. It's the fans chose Steve Austin. The fans, rejected Rock, and then they tweaked it, and it worked. So,
Wade, there also might be something to, people naturally reject. I was just listening to the Eagles song, "The New Kid in Town," and so this is kind of like in my mind of people naturally reject always, like, whoever is on scholarship, whoever is like the new chosen one, and you have to wonder if the audience might. If you allowed the story to be the kid who was the new kid in town who ended up not getting his shot, as being Austin Theory, that doesn't actually resonate with some people to will for him to have a moment. I just think you have to get there. You have to figure out what it is that people are supposed to be connecting to, because him just being the guy who got passed over, that's not enough. That definitely isn't going to be it. And I'm curious to see which way they take it. I'm definitely not writing it off. I think he's going to have a natural chemistry with that crew? No, I don't. Is why actually the thought of him having more of an intertwinement with Seth Rollins or somebody else long term might be a little bit more interesting to me. But we shall see.
Adam Kidd says, if that Braun promo was promo of the year, wrestling has passed me by.
Well, I think I don't wait. I'm not going to sit there. I think it might have been the promo of the year. So bye. But the when I say that to say, I mean, I think the issue with that is I didn't have a problem with the mic drop moment of Logan Paul, and I say that because listen, I'm around. Before I lost my job, around young people all the time. That is how they gas each other up now. Like that would be a very natural thing that I would see amongst early 20-year-olds of someone in real life cutting a promo on somebody else, and then their friend doing a motion like that. That is real life. What they don't have is the commentator backing it up. Like, I think that if having Michael Cole then say, those are big words, let's see if he can actually get this thing done on January 5th was all that was needed. You didn't need Michael Cole to sign off and go, yeah, look how far he's grown by coming up through the, our own internal territorial system, which is basically what he was saying. I mean, was unnecessary. Michael Cole was the one who failed that. Or whoever, was it Joe Tessitore, whoever it was. Cool, like, whoever it was at that moment. Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah. I think there's, and I'm writing about this and talking about it. I think there's the WWE, and this goes especially amplified with the Paul Levesque reaction after Cena tapped out to Gunther, is what it feels like is WWE has become, American Idol, like where the fans get to vote for who the next star is.
Yeah.
And they're giving too much power to the fans. We're putting, like 18 years ago, we're putting up our flashback. There was Cyber Sunday. Fans, tell us what stipulation to have. They've been, John Cena, we hope we entertained you tonight. No, F that. You better be entertained. You paid to see us. Our job's not to entertain you. Our job's to win matches, and you're privileged to get to see us fight for this. You should be grateful you're here. We're not here to pander and hope that your money was. Of course, behind the scenes, that's of course the purpose. But no wrestler should ever say that on TV. That takes away the whole mystique of. I don't want the rock star. I don't want Madonna going, oh, I hope we entertained you. Just be a rock star and let me entertain.
Yeah,
think that you're rich and you don't care. You just love performing for me.
Well, so do you say that, Wade? Because there's some like using the rock star mentality. It's like, people get mad at rock stars when they don't do the greatest hits, when they want to do their latest album or whatever. But that's what makes them rock stars, right? Is the fact that they have material that they want to art that continue to move forward. I actually feel for Paul Levesque in this moment because, listen, when he came in as the replacement for Vince, right? Like, first of all, people were again willing for him to do better than probably he would have done otherwise. But also, he came in and was there to super serve the fans because they had been, I think the argument would be that they had gone so far in the opposite direction that all of the people, the young stars that they wanted to have, be invested in were all cut. So Paul Levesque brought them back, and that, everything that he was going to do was going to be more for the fans. Now, here is the thing. I agree with you. It's gone too far now. And also, listen, I'm going to sound like an old crotchety guy when I say this. The fans kind of need to let go of their expectation for that too. And I don't know, you obviously, how do you broadly say, like, hey, listen, stop being a threat to hijacking shows if you don't get the what you want out of like whoever you want. Like, do I think LA Knight should be in the main event of wrestling? No, I actually don't. And I hate the fact that it's like when you see people saying, well, the fans are going to hijack the show. Well, okay, so what? We're going to back them into a corner to have him main event WrestleMania? Like, no. I mean, I don't know. There's a balance there, Wade, and I don't know how WWE how they balance that. And the last thing I'll say is, listen, it's so funny you say about American Idol. I've been in a position where I've been a judge of talent shows on big stages, thousands of people watching and everything. And I know the pressure in that moment of going like, listen, this person should not advance, but if I don't pick this person, these people are going to have my head. That's a real thing. That really is, in terms of when you're trying to manage producing the best product, but also having the fans that you're trying to keep happy. It's a difficult navigation. I can understand that it would be difficult for WWE.
And there comes a point where, like, you don't want to feel like you're on an airplane and the pilot is asking people to push a button on their chair telling what altitude he should fly at. Like, when I get on a plane, I just want to think the pilot's going to get me to where I'm going and do so with minimal turbulence. And be a wrestling promoter with just confidence in what you're doing. Listen to the crowd, but don't tell them you're listening to them. Like, that shouldn't be part of canon. It's crazy. Like, WWE Unreal should not be a show. I don't think
it's not even a good show, for the record.
Yeah, no.
And I was late to watching it, but it's awful. And
it's a new work. I mean, the thing with poor Chris Park and that was all this Bruce Pritchard trying to humiliate Biss. Like, it was just a manufactured timing thing that they thought would make for good TV. We'll see if CM Punk or Seth Rollins shows up with his fake knee injury work in the locker room and they turn that into it's not. It is unreal. It's fake. It's just a new kind of fake. You don't want WWE doing stuff that is like, well, we want something to be fake real that we can present to our audience, our gullible marks who are going to think they're getting to see something real. And it's like certain news channels will sprinkle in some real news, and then we're going to wedge in some propaganda that's not rooted in facts that fits our agenda. It's just get in the business of just promoting fights and give the impression that you know what you're doing, you're confident in your choices, and the fans can watch or not watch. But it's your privilege to buy a ticket and see these rock stars fight for championships that matter. Stop pandering to the fans as part of canon. I just think and hopefully that's a wake-up call, the whole reaction to Levesque, because, I mean, you don't want a big finish, and fans are like, well, you know what? That finish didn't entertain us properly, so now we're going to rebel. Like, and I like that Cody, when they sing Cody Rhodes, he sits there, and he doesn't move. He waits. Yeah. And then when he feels there's a gap and then he talks. He's not encouraging it because he knows it's bad TV. It's fans self-indulgently. And I get it. You go to the WWE has sold WWE as an experience, as a communal experience to chant and sing. And it's going to take 3 or 4 years to get them out of it, but they can steer the product out of that, and I think they should. I think they're in a ditch with it, and I think it's causing more problems than they realize in this whole sense that we're auditioning Braun Breaker to be a top star, and the fans are, I mean, that's for us to do. Don't play into that on your own damn show. But of course, we want to watch from afar and go, oh, how's Breaker doing? But I don't want Breaker to tell me that he's doing well. I don't want the company saying how well he's doing. Look, he's auditioning. He's going to be a big star. I like, though, Austin Theory auditioning to be in the Vision. That's totally different. That's canon, that's storyline, and that totally works. He wants to be in the cool club. He wants to be in the main eventers club, and he wants to prove himself. But it shouldn't be who gets a push or who gets a title match. And I'm glad that we don't vote for match stipulations anymore. But yeah, there's work to be done, Nick.
Yeah, I'm with you on all of it. But you know what? And it's funny. The other thing I would add is, as they're looking for the balance of the audience reaction, is I think they should be less reliant on literal audience reaction shots on the shows. I mean, I think part of the Gunther winning moment, that that everything about that was they were so hyper focused on getting shots out to the crowd. They didn't play the music fast enough. They didn't, or like whatever it was. They didn't advance that moment fast enough it laid in a space of, how do you all think we did just there? Yep. I mean, I really do. I think that was like the exact moment. Like, wait a minute, you're not reacting. It was like you could feel the pace of, wait a minute, you're not reacting the way we thought. How did we have another WrestleMania 30 moment with the Undertaker streak? It was just, there was a lot of that. It was way too paused.
Yeah. By the way, Standard Aviation says, I love having Nick on here. He's super talented, hilarious, and always a pleasure to listen to. Nikki's Club, rise up. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, guys. Yes. And I'm sorry if sorry for the technical stuff, but listen, this is something I'm going to invest more in, the technology to get me into this world a little bit more, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. So there's something I was going to say along those lines before I got diverted to try to boost your ego and boost your self-esteem, Nick.
Well, we were talking about the audience reaction shots. Talking about. It'll
come back. It'll come back to me when I'm not
What do you think about? Let's talk about Gunther, if we could.
You know what?
How do you?
Nick,
what do you think?
Nick,
Go ahead.
I don't mean to say don't steer the show, but because we have some callers on, I think they probably might bring him up, so we don't have people waiting. So let's get to callers, and if it doesn't get introduced, we'll definitely bring Gunther up because I definitely want to.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So if I remember my thought, I will interrupt because I had more to say about the whole idea of wrestlers auditioning for fans, and that I think that's bad for WWE and bad for the product. But I think my specific example, I'll interject it. But let's bring Sean onto the show here. Sean Plichta. Sean, you have done podcasts with Nick. It's great to have you two on together. Do you want to talk about Gunther and make Nick happy?
I will, because it's Christmas, but only because I can't see the darn guy now because he had to go to his stupid iPad. And now I can't.
We want to hear him
you.
more
What
than we
is
want to
this-
see him.
What is this crap? Nick, what is this crap? Be better than this. You're better than this.
Wait,
I love
wait.
you. Be better
so
than this.
ironically, Sean, when you came on the thing, I stopped being able to hear you. What did you just say to me?
I can't with you. I can't with you.
Well, here's
what is
happened.
this?
I mean, I probably shouldn't say. I was using my work laptop to do the shows, guys, and I lost my job. So what do you want from me? So someone help me out. Venmo me money for a laptop. I mean, I spent all my money on clothes, although you wouldn't know if you these things. So,
Go through your closet and run a little contest. You could do a mystery bag. People spend $100 for a mystery bag of clothes Nick Barbati wore, and you can auction it online.
Yeah, and I'll spray them with my favorite colognes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's Black Friday came and went, but there's always good New Year sales. You can go to Best Buy and get a laptop for like $250 that'll serve the purpose. You can get like an 85-inch TV for like $3 now. It's crazy. So
I'll do that.
Okay, so anyway, it's fun to do this stuff, but I also there are probably some people like on the treadmill going, "Come on, let's talk wrestling here." So, so anyway, Sean, what do you want to bring up?
Yeah, no, let's bring up Gunther because Nick did want to talk about him, and I thought what he's done the last 2 weeks has been just great. I mean, he's milking the heat. He's just bringing on the booze. I mean, just saying, he tapped out like a little bitch. I love it. I mean, I don't need the bitch line. I mean, we hear it all the time, but just the way he said it was just,
this is good use of it. Just don't, my point isn't that Gunther shouldn't use it. My point is 6 other people on the show shouldn't also use it. You should get approval to say bitch because too many people were saying it. That's what the bitch meter was. It's not that I'm against the word being used and that it can't be used effectively. Gunther's using it exactly how it should be saved to be used a few times a year.
No, I agree. I think it's been fun. I like that they're bringing up the AJ because I think he is going to retire AJ next year at some point. So that's a good just kind of milking to that.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to hear what Nick's thought about him and where he's going. I'm curious where he goes next, like this little up until whatever he does with AJ sooner, late down the line. But I don't know what he's got coming up, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where he goes from here.
Well, you know what I'm worried about, Sean, is that that they're not going to know what to do with him in terms of the balancing of him being, the big bad, him being the final, the quote, final boss really of WWE, but also not being champion and not having him be ruined by having that intertwinement with the champion. Now, this is going to sound like an odd comparison, but to me, it's not that far off from how they tried to balance the Fiend character, was to have him be this like really threatening character, this really interesting, again, almost otherworldly type heel. But then how does that eventually exist in terms of the relationship to, the agreed upon goal of the show, which is to be champion and to make money and all this other kind of stuff. So, they have to figure out how to keep Gunther interesting because, I think it's entirely possible that people get bored also of him just being the braggart who retired John Cena if they don't come up with an interesting storyline after that. Now, think back
real quick, Nick, real quick. There's something entertaining about him being Mr. Serious, Mr. Respect the Mat, and now he's just gleeful over what he did to Cena. It makes it like he's not someone who normally acts this way, and I think it's more effective. But your point is right. I think they don't want to go to like to Jey Uso ring,
right? But that gets old. Yeah, it gets old. It's gonna, and so I think with the best I would say almost like, course of action would be, when Ric Flair retired and they did the storyline, what was it, Batista trying to avenge the retirement. And then, there was that he went up against Shawn Michaels at first, and that then bled off into the Chris Jericho Shawn Michaels storyline. But there should be something here that then advances it beyond this. But again, keeps him more protected, and then allows for the personality that Wade is talking about to continue to show without it being character, like too much of a caricature of himself. It's going to be an interesting navigation, but again, just as quickly as you get him back in the world title picture, then you have him at risk of losing again, and that's not good. I think he should go untouched. And I would also really like for them to clean up the Jey Uso making him tap thing, because that is so present there. I mean, I think back to do you remember when Brock Lesnar came back in 2012 or whatnot, and he lost initially to John Cena? And I feel like then they said, no, we're not going to do this again. And it was like pedal to the metal of making him be the unstoppable heel. Right. And they leaned in on the fact of, listen, he was coming back from diverticulitis. Now he's fully back. And to me, that was an effective communication technique to like switch your brain back into, okay, now they've decided they're going to go in this direction with him. I really want them to clean up the Jey Uso thing of making him tap. What was it about that moment that he was susceptible to tapping, and could it happen again? Is it just that move, the sleeper hold that he is the person who is the expert at, but he has his own internal weakness to it? But I would like for them to flesh that out, because asking people to turn their brains off with him being unstoppable when we've seen him be stopped twice in a year, that should be something that they should be cleaning up.
Yeah. Sadler version 3 along those lines in the chat says, I'd be concerned if they have him do the same promo gimmick again next week. They need to get him in the ring and establish dominance. Don't make him one note. Let's keep in mind, this is holidays. They're pre-taping. A lot of people are thinking about their Christmas list. They're just kind of getting a show in. The reset button is going to be hit January 5th with Netflix. And I mean, I would evaluate it the same way, because I chose to put it on TV, and we're paying for Netflix, and they're asking for our time. And so it should be evaluated in that way. But I'm less worried that they would be. I think if it were February, they'd just be handling this maybe a little bit differently. So don't panic too much if the show seemed a little phoned in and repetitive the next couple of weeks. I just think they've got all eyes on January 5th right now, and they're just kind of trying to get to that point when they go back live. That's my optimist's view. Don't be too worried. Let's worry in mid-January if this is still going on.
Well, and that's what I was saying too, because I did think that. I mean, Sadler said that after I thought about it, because that's why I was kind of bringing it up. Because even though I like what Gunther's done the last 2 weeks, I want him, like you said, to establish that dominance, like build up to wanting to win titles, because that should still be the most important thing. Even though retiring John Cena was great, retiring Goldberg was great, bring all that stuff up when you feel like when it's that time. But just focus more about what your goals are, what your motivation is by doing that, and to go up to that next level. So I hope he does, just continues to talk more about those things. I wanted to ask you guys, I thought I was not with Todd. I actually thought the Maxine Ivy match last week was actually okay. I actually liked it more than some, because I think they were trying to bring this physical aspect to Maxine, and I think they did that in actually a pretty good way. It wasn't like great. It wasn't fantastic or anything, but I thought it was good for what they're trying to do with her. And it was funny because I do think Ivy has potential for down the line in the future. I don't know if she's not ready yet, but I think down the line, like 2-3 years down the line, if they keep, just having her do some stuff here or there, I think they could maybe build to something. But with Maxine, I think the Natty's vignettes have been good. I thought her promo tonight was good. I thought it was coming back at Becky in a good way. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't need to see them wrestle again. I don't need to. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're trying to. I don't know what the story is with them wrestling again. But Maxine came back at her in a real way, in a way where you feel like you're getting behind her, and she's going at what Becky's trying to say and just getting back at her stuff with her own stuff. And I thought it was good. I wanted to hear what you guys thought about the promo and where Maxine's going, because I think she's on a good track. It's slow, but it's good. I've liked it so far.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think of what they're doing? Is it a good idea? One, and is it succeeding? Two,
I think it's a good idea. I don't Listen, I don't know that I love her being the Intercontinental Champion. However, one thing that does make her stick, one thing I can say is she sticks out amongst all the plethora of female wrestlers that are in the rising class of female wrestlers. I think sometimes if you were to just tune into the show casually, it's a good thing that there are so many more female talent than we had women wrestlers than we had, years ago. However, there's just been such little done at character development and really establishing them as memorable. And then you have Maxine, who, she's rootable. To see her actively improving in real time, week in, week out. And by the way, just have there's just something really sympathetic about her character when you see her. I think what makes her so endearing is, she's got that warmth to her visually, and the emotion that it comes out of her. You can tell she's putting her heart into it, and I think that is coming through, and that's what the connectedness is. I think so many of the others, I want just the other female wrestlers on the show could really learn from her, because I thought, ironically, with so much talent that was on this particular episode, she walked away being the most memorable person of all of them. And I think that's a real testament to her being authentic out there, or at least developing a character that reads authentic.
Standard Aviation says, I think her performance is more appealing than the story on paper. It's still weird to have a rookie to talk to the former number one star in the company that way. Have you liked the idea that she goes and trains with Natalya and has this instant edge? I mean, it takes 3 to 7 years to be good at karate or judo. It's are we supposed to believe she went from obviously hapless and in over her head and clumsy, where the announcing is my God, I can't believe she hit the ropes without falling through them and knocking herself out on the floor. That was essentially the commentary on her. And after, a few weeks of sweating on a mat with Natalya, she's supposed to be a threat to Becky. That's where I think Standard Deviation is coming from. The performance is more appealing than the story. I think it's okay to, you don't want to do it much, and you have to be cognizant of pushing the limits, but you want to have a little latitude, give a little wiggle room to, hey, we want to tell a new story. We're going to be a few weeks of a transition. We're not saying it's super believable, but also, it's not believable. Guys not getting bruises on their faces when they're punched 10 times.
Right.
So, right. I don't want to be too loose with that. I'm a stickler for presentation and be logical any way you can and be believable any way you can. It doesn't hurt the product. But if they think this is a fun story and they think she can, they want to move her to the next level, I don't know. It's been done in wrestling before. I used the Corporal Kirshner Greg Gagne example from the mid 80s. So Greg Gagne was just kind of post high flyers. I think it was after Jim Brunzell went to WWF with B. Brian Blair for the Killer Bees, and Greg's what should I do? And well, we're going to have you be it's actually kind of what they're doing with Austin Theory in a way too. We're going to show training videos of you in camouflage, and Corporal Kirshner's going to train you to be a badass, and you're going to lift rocks and lift tree stumps, and you're going to be a whole new Greg Gagne. Remaking people has been done before. We're seeing it with Maxie Dupree, and we're seeing it with Austin Theory. Obviously different paths. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. It's just, it doesn't, the idea is fine. I'm going to give them a little creative freedom to rush us through asking us to believe it, as long as her work in the ring shows a switch was flipped. And then I think you're right, Nick. There are things that are endearing about her. There's something about her you want to root for her. And I'm okay with an underdog character kind of finding her way. I think it's a story that not every guy in his 40s is going to buy, but there's going to be a lot of fans in the demographics WWE aims at who are going to be I tune in because I want to see how she's going to do. And, it isn't just about us. It's about other fans too that we see in the crowd.
Yeah. And do you think that, because I'm assuming, this is my just assumption, that Maxine's going to win again, does it, I know Becky's already been in main events of WrestleMania, so we know she's a main eventer, but does it hurt her mystique a little bit by losing to Maxine twice, even the way she might lose? Or is it just, she'll be fine, she'll move on to whatever she does next, and it's just not a big deal? Because, losing to Maxine, even though they're telling a story with Maxine, it still feels weird that Becky, of all people, would lose to her twice. So does that hurt her, you think, in your mind at all?
What do you think, Nick?
I don't think it hurts her. I think it's hurt her more to lose to AJ Lee. and
Wow.
I say that.
On,
well, are you going to let me finish, or are you both guys going to keep interrupting? I mean, you two can go finish the show if you want.
I didn't interrupt.
No,
Sean did. I just
chuckled. Yeah, you just interrupted me right there, Wade. So the thing that I would say about that is, I think here the good news with Becky Lynch is she's able to move in and out of the main event picture for the rest of her life. Now, I think that is established. I don't think she's at any risk of having any defining down of her legacy or where she stands in the roster. I actually think I think it's so easy to accept her losing to Maxine, as long as people are excited about the prospects of what is on the other side of it for Maxine. And I actually think I think this storyline plays into Becky losing so much better because of, the bully and the underdog type thing really, really works here. I think what didn't work was her having to lose to AJ Lee, say at War Games, because it just wasn't necessary. There were enough outs there to not have that be the end of the match, and to still have AJ stand victorious. And just again playing into that returning person coming back. It's not, you're not giving real back to somebody else. In this case, I think people would be happy about the ability for Becky to do that. So no, Becky's not at risk of being damaged in any way here.
And Becky is frazzled because she wanted. It's like you see in sports where a team goes against a team that's like NBA team that's like 8-24, and they're like, oh good, we can relax. We just kind of phone it in. We don't have to work hard. It's a sort of a half rest day, and they get throttled for 3 quarters, and then they scrap and work hard to try to get win in the fourth. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and then they regret it, and then they play a really good game next time against a tougher team and win. That's what's going on with Becky. It's a sports story. She's overestimating. She's arrogant. She thinks Maxine Dupree's beneath her. And Maxine Dupree got lucky a couple times with a count-out and DQ win, which the announcer should specify, by the way, for their credibility's sake, when she brags about beating her 3 times. They should go, okay, some of those wins were not anything to brag about. But, I want announcers on the side of the viewers, not on the side of the con that the promoter's perpetuating. And I don't say con like it's evil, but it is like promoters, they're whatever. You get my point. So Becky's frazzled. She's embarrassed. Even to lose by count out, she's embarrassed. And then Maxine goes, you know what? I got her frazzled. I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to go train with Natalya, and I'm going to see if I can't capitalize on having Becky just out of sorts. And that's the story. Becky's not on her A game. She's frazzled and still arrogant. And the story with Becky, she doesn't want to have to take Maxine seriously to win. And she's paying a price for it. That's what it is. She doesn't want to have to take her seriously. And Maxine is going, you're going to have to take me seriously. If you beat me and you take me seriously, that's actually a victory because I'm tired of you not taking me seriously. That's the story. And I think that's fine to tell on a mid-card. But I will say, Wade, I think that it would have meant so much more if Becky hadn't tapped so much recently. Like I said, to AJ. I think like the visual of her tapping today, I think was, it seemed more normal than it would have otherwise. Yeah, I think in the macro, this is a fine story. I'm defending it. I think we could get into the micro and go, whoa, it'd be better for this story to be told if a couple things were tweaked, including, like I said, the announcer should be going, hey, I'm all for Maxine, bragging about wins, but let's be clear. Those were fluke wins. The key now is she's trying to prove she's not a fluke anymore. Those wins gave her a confidence that she's now building on, and she has Becky on the ropes. There's just not enough sports like a sports like announcing where the announcers are like, what would I say if this were real, if my credibility was on the line? And that's what I want announcers to do. And I want Paul Levesque to be on board with that. I want Tony Khan to be on board with that. Like, I want my announcers to call out holes in my booking because one of the most important things in wrestling is that fans trust the announcers, that they're on their side, that they're not part of the con. And that's where the money is in role for announcers. And as Standard Deviation said, she's just too confident for a couple of fluky wins. Am I supposed to view her as delusional? And again, that's where the announcers have to frame it. And they're just not being produced to do that. Sean.
Yeah, so I wanted to say just quick on Austin Theory. I said it in the chat a little bit, but I do think, I thought he seemed like he belonged tonight. I like his promo backstage. I do want to go back and watch it myself again to kind of get another thought of it, watching it a second time. But when I was watching it in real time, it didn't bother me. I thought he belonged. I thought he brought himself well in the promo. I thought he did okay. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do. I'm not, I'm with you, Wade. I mean, I think he has star potential. I'm not sold on it yet. Again, I'm with you. I want to see it play out, but I think he can make this work. And I think you can build up to a match again with Rollins down the line and have him beat Seth if that's where they're going with it. And I think it can work. I think there's some really good stuff they can do, but I want to see it play out. But I want to say,
real quick, when it comes to predicting Austin Theory's success, Sean, I in case you're moving on to the topic, I want to insert this.
Yeah.
Like there's like before an election, someone would say there's a 56% chance somebody beats somebody else. And then a newspaper reporter who doesn't understand statistics will go, that poll was right. The person that they said had a 56% chance to win won. The only way they're right is if they said they had a 100% chance to win. Because by definition, they actually are right. If this, based on the facts we know, if this election was held 100 times, 56 times this person would win, but 44 times they would lose. It's like people don't get weather. They get mad at the meteorologist. One of my rants that I do to people. If it didn't rain and you heard rain was in the forecast, it didn't mean the meteorologist was wrong. It meant they said there's a 2/3 chance of rain, and 1 out of 3 times there should be no rain. That's how they're right. If they tell you there's a 2/3 chance and 1 out of 3 times there isn't, that means they are right. If it rained every time they said it was a 2/3 chance, they'd be wrong 1/3 of the time. So my point on this is with Austin Theory, I think there's a 60% chance this works out pretty well or very well. But if it works out, doesn't mean I'm right, because I'm hedging. What I saw tonight, I'm not convinced. I'm higher on Braun Breaker being a perennial top guy, but I'm not sold on him being in the elite of top guys. So like, it's not hedging, it's just assessing the nuance of the unknown. But Sean, I think there's enough there where I get why they're pushing him. Obviously, it's been a bit of a bit for a few years, but I thought Austin Theory showed comic range, and the question was, can he come across as a main event guy? That remains to be seen. Right now, I'll take Dominic on my roster before Austin Theory in a second. I'll take Braun Breaker before Austin Theory in a second. Like, that's not the point. The point is who would you push right now instead of Austin Theory that's getting this TV time? Are you ready to discard this guy who's a good athlete, good in the ring, good look, has a acceptable attitude behind the scenes? He's not a head case. There's people who don't get chances because they're head cases, and management's like, we can see where this is going. And a lot of it ended up in AEW, by the way. And then Tony Khan found out the hard way. So, and others, it was the atmosphere, and they worked out great in AEW. I mean, it's not like every reclamation project has failed. But so anyway, I just want to sneak that in. Like, if you say I think Austin Theory is going to work and he doesn't, I mean, that's reasonable to say I think he's got a better than 50% chance for this to work out. But, I don't have certitude, but I think it's 100% worth taking the chance on him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to say it's always been a pleasure, when I get to be on Nick's shows, and obviously I'd love to get on here on there sooner rather than later, but it'll be great whenever I do get the opportunity. Wade's, I've been a member, like I said, for a long time. Happy holidays to all you guys. Merry Christmas out there. There's a lot of good going on. Let's love each other. Let's do the right things. And let's get this year going off on the right foot. So let's see what Raw brings to us. Hopefully, I've smacked down 3 hours. I don't like that, but we'll see what Raw brings us in the new year. So always fun being on with you guys.
I'm hoping we stop pulling people off the streets who are here legally and haven't committed crimes and sending them to torture chambers and then having corporate media block a story from 60 Minutes that would have exposed it. I hope we can all agree that that's bad and we should all lash out against it. That's my wish for the new year. That's how we can all get along, is caring for people who don't look exactly like us and hold an out of control racist government accountable for what they're doing. Merry Christmas, Sean. Happy New Year. And hope the holiday season is great for everybody listening also.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Sean. Thank you so much for always supporting and for just being an amazing colleague. You're just bring so much light into all of our lives, which I really, truly believe. No,
that's same with you guys. I appreciate you guys. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah. Eric Moy goes, amen, Wade, to what I just said. JC Scooby says, yes, Wade. Well said. Adam Kidd says, well said, Wade. And Goodfella goes, math and a little politics. Strong segment, Wade. Or strong segment, Wade. I don't know the tone he intended there. But all right. Nick, can we go to our next caller? Or do you want to jump?
Sure.
Do you want to follow up on something? Okay, I don't want to move on if you had kind of something you're saving up.
By the way, I did see a comment that we were tough on Maxine. I didn't think we were tough on her at all.
Maybe. Well, did he say the hosts were or everybody else?
He said you guys. No, it says you guys.
Well, he might be talking to the chat. Eric
Oh,
Moy.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
That, sometimes
okay.
I'm not sure. Like when he goes, you
Yeah,
guys, it
yeah.
could be because of previous.
I was gonna say, I just feel like we gave her a million flowers right there.
Yeah. Eric Moy, for context for listeners who aren't in the chat, you guys are too hard on Maxine Dupree. She's doing well, and I'm enjoying the story they're telling with her. So there you go. Eric Moy can clarify. Maybe he thought we were too hard on her. Oh, by the way, Mr. Mitchell, Ms. Mitchell, baby boy. Ms. Mitchell's baby boy. I'm sorry, Derek. I just am reading your handle there finally fully. Mr. Kennedy is an example of someone who was pegged to be a main eventer and didn't work out and was ultimately released and ended up in TNA. Yep. It happens. You got to take chances, but take a chance, give it your best shot. And
listen, I actually, Wade, as we were talking, before you go real quick to whoever is next, listen, do I think Austin Theory has more of a capability for a longer term storyline performance that includes a really great series of matches than Braun Breaker does right now? Yeah, I do. Like, I don't think he's that far down. Like, it's really not. It's just like he's like one great week away from getting back on track. That's not that bad of a place to be. But I just don't think this was the week that really got me excited. It wasn't a disaster.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. But at the same time, like you want for it to hit, and it just didn't hit for me.
Well, here's a couple of comments on that, and then we'll go to Jason D from Australia, and then CJ after that. Jay in Hartford, good to hear from you, Jay. It's been a while. I would much rather the story had been that Logan brought Austin into the group. Then they could have teamed up. As I said last week, there's no hierarchy in the vision. Who's the top guy in the group? A couple other comments, then you can respond if you want, Nick. Standard Deviation said, I found it interesting that Paul repeatedly expressed out, Paul Heyman. We have to be so careful. Like Logan Paul, we should call Logan, and Paul Heyman, we should call Heyman, just to clarify, because we have two Pauls in the group now. I found it interesting that Paul Heyman repeatedly expressed doubt over Austin Theory, asserting that he's here to, quote, take and be the leader. I took it as an intentional story about a perennial follower who thinks he's a leader, but everyone knows he's not, and they're right. So it's an interesting angle. Basically what they've done this week, and it was what I kind of hoped they were going to do after last week's reveal, because I thought the announcer should have not acted like, whoa, big game changer. I think the announcer should have said, Austin Theory? Like, that's this guy? The guy who was with, like, I think they should have owned what people know. The guy who was hanging out with Grayson Waller, goofing off, that... I gotta process this, and that's how it should have ended. Like, have the announcers on the side of what the fans are thinking, so it doesn't feel like you're being forced to think a certain way. This week, they did everything. I'm going to overstate this slightly, but did everything right in that regard. And I mean, they showed that needed to be addressed. And Heyman being skeptical of Theory and saying, "Show me. I'm intrigued, but you got to show me," is the way to go. And I think, Nick, you made the best point. He should not have had he should not have in the match looked like somebody who was going to lose, if not for a Ray being pulled out of the ring or whatever the moment was. They should have not done that in his first match back. There should be, like, I mean, there's so many ways to book things well. When like I say, for the sake of example, rather than fantasy booking, like this is the one way it would have worked. But I would have liked to have seen Bronson Reed be more taken aback by the viciousness. Heyman being like, totally. Oh God, what have we unleashed? And Theory going a little too far. And I know they do that. You know, Drew's been decimating Cody. Cody's been decimating Drew. Punk's been trying to kill Seth Rollins. Like, you can seem a little repetitive, but like a vicious side to Theory in that match where Bronson Reed is almost like, dude, like, we want to win the match, but like, calm down. And I know that's been Reed's role with Breaker, so maybe they don't want to repeat it. Like, Breaker's a guy who has a snap temper, but something along those lines that would have made us see Theory not as a good worker. Hey, fans, you're going to get good matches out of him. Look at that drop kick. Instead, wait, there's a viciousness in there. This guy has something to prove.
Wait, you're sorry. What was it, like a somersault drop kick they did? That was a slingshot, whatever. It actually, I think, even though it's impressive and beautiful to look at, it was like, oh, this is Austin Theory. Right? You're in that moment. You're like, okay, this is not all that different. Yeah, we're on the same page in that regard.
Yep. Standard Aviation adds, the story is that Austin was sitting at home watching TV. He liked the Vision's mission, and he wanted to join them. So he shows up and asks Bronson Reed, the underling, so what's the plan? It reads like a real life audition that hinges on his actual performance. I did like, and saying things I liked. I like when he said, what's the plan? And Reed gets a plan, and Austin goes, I don't like it. I'm going to start the match. And Reed's like, okay, we kind of like that in someone. That's not who we expected you to be. So I think they got more right than wrong. And it's a work in progress. And I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but let's give it a few more weeks before we draw solid conclusions. He's like the JJ McCarthy of WWE right now, a young guy with potential, but we need a bigger body of evidence. And Sean goes, yeah, that was good. And Standard Deviation said, yeah, that was good. Okay, let's bring Jason D on. Jason D from Australia. Jason, good to hear from you tonight. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks, Wade and Nick. Yeah, I want to touch on the Austin Theory discussion because, look, I'm a fan of his. I think this is a work in progress, right? But what you got to remember about him is that you talk about guys who make it and whatnot. I mean, the booking and the positioning of these characters and how they're presented is very important, right? The creative. Theory has to rehabilitate himself in front of the audience because even though he defeated John Cena at WrestleMania, people don't remember that. They remember Cena eviscerating him on the microphone. Exactly. He had nothing to say to that. Yep. They also remember the segment he had with the Bloodline. When the Bloodline were heels and Roman said to him, hey, your daddy's not here anymore. And Theory was made to look like an idiot. How many times was he made to look like an idiot when he had the briefcase? Tyson Fury punching him out. Even when he was with Waller, Jelly Roll giving him that choke slam. And they went out of their way to mention he was with an ill-fated tag team, but I didn't hear the name Grayson Waller because Waller's not taken as a serious person. That was done on purpose. So Theory the perception of Theory amongst fans is this guy looks like a talent. He's got everything going for him, but the booking hasn't positioned him as a serious person. Wade, you asked this question last week. I don't know what more he could have done with what they told him to do. He wasn't positioned to be taken seriously, whether it was a test, whatever it was, he did what he had to do. But
this whole grab the brass ring thing, this whole ruthless aggression, you get fired if you're insubordinate. You can't break script. What do they expect guys to do when they're told to go out there and this is not a corporation that encourages renegades. So this notion that Austin Theory, who was brought up, in the indie Evolve scene and then NXT and then a mid-card guy. And he shared the ring with John Cena and he did exactly what he was told. And now we're holding it against him. And we gave him a bunch of comedy skits and we're going to hold it against him that fans don't take him seriously. It's like, what are you talking? I don't fully understand what they expect people to, how you grab that so-called brass ring without getting fired. I mean, so their wording in during his ring entrance was he admitted to making bad decisions in his career. This is Cole during his introduction, restating what the summary of what people might have missed earlier. He admitted to making bad decisions in his career and got too comfortable, and now he wants to emulate the vision and take what he wants. So that's the summary of where he is. But Jason, I think you've got a point. There's more there that they're not owning. I think they went far enough to generically encapsulate it. They don't want to remind you of the specifics. But it feels a little canned. I mean, it feels a little canned. I'd like to see Corey Graves just freelance a little bit. Go, when he was hanging out with Grayson Waller, what was he thinking? I think deep down, I thought more of Austin Theory, but he had his confidence shot based on John Cena eviscerating him on the microphone, and Theory was stunned by that. The best thing to happen to him, and it happens in sports, he got injured, and he watched the rest of the wrestlers do their thing, and he thought, you know what, I'm going to be 30 and not too long. Do I want to have a career that's different than the one I've had so far? I think you can talk like that, and viewers at home are going to appreciate the forthrightness and honesty of that because they already know it, so they're going to respect WWE for not pretending it didn't happen with some word salad about getting too comfortable. It was a step in the right direction, but it just wasn't quite enough for me, and I think that's what you're saying, Jason.
Well, week one, we've got to allow this to play out.
Oh, right? For sure. I mean,
Heyman did his best by saying, look, Brian, where were you 12 months ago? And Bronson, where were you? And they had no answer to that. So Heyman tried to shut them down. It's an interesting dynamic, though, because once again, much like Seth Rollins leading into Crown Jewel, it was almost like Seth had to prove himself against Cody. Now, we know he got injured, but the story was that if he didn't come out on top, Heyman said to Bronson and Braun, we know what to do. They're probably going to take him out. Again, Bronson Reed has nothing to lose tonight. If Austin Theory doesn't get this win and hold his end of the bargain, then we take him out. So it's Heyman, Bronson, and Braun together, and these outsiders that come in, they're still kind of outsiders. Now, I can buy the story of Logan Paul, almost recruiting Austin Theory in a sense because they were we have seen them together when it was Austin, Grayson, and Logan Paul. They did share some screen time together, so I can buy into that. But I'm also interested in the story and I know you guys touched on this, Theory dressing up like Seth Rollins. So is he a mole planted by Seth Rollins?
Yeah.
And is this part of a bigger plan? Or is the visual that Austin Theory is an upgraded version of Seth Rollins, a younger, upgraded one, and we're going to lead into a feud with that? That's why he's using the stomp. So I think we've got to allow that to play out. But watching him in the ring tonight, I mean, he belonged. I mean, how many people has CM Punk come back with? How many people has CM Punk been in the ring with since he came back, and they've bumped and fed for him? Because Austin was there the whole way. Punch down, back up, back up. He took all of Punk's offense, made Punk look great. I mean, Punk's Punk, but Austin was there the whole time. He obviously can go in the ring. They just have to rehabilitate his character and have the other characters on the TV show take him seriously. If they start taking him seriously and listening to him, that's going to play a big part, because prior to this, nobody has interacted him in a serious way. But with Theory, his ultimate landing place is as a babyface. If he becomes we often talk about wrestlers, they need to turn heel. He's someone who needs to turn babyface, because once he gets there, and it's all like he has to reestablish himself with main event talent, once he turns babyface, then I think he'll really take off. But they have to sort of rehabilitate his image right now.
What do you think of that, Nick?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And even as you were just saying that, the concept of him, like whatever the storyline is going to play out to be, but he has a baby face, especially with this. I know it sounds so stupid with the haircut and the new look and everything. I mean, it lends itself to being, I don't know if anybody watches the show Traitors. That is, I think, a really great show. It features a bunch of, now it's become reality show personalities and actors, and just in general, just C-D level celebrities living in a house in a murder mystery type environment. And there's just been, over the past couple of years, there's always one character that is like his name was Pilot Pete, was the one guy, and he was the eternal baby face, right? He was just like a proper good looking guy who he was smart enough that you're like, oh wait, he's not just a pretty face, and he is someone that you can just get behind. And I think if this story lands with Austin Theory being smart and actually being someone that's like, okay, yeah, he's handsome, and yes, he's got the perfect body, but he's actually like really someone worth getting behind. He's a leader. And Wade, you used that word earlier. Yeah, but no. But the leader thing is important to me to lean in on. Of like that is what is missing as we're going into this next generation of wrestlers. It's not just the star performer. It's someone that's going to lead people and galvanize them to spend their money and to be excited about wrestling. If he can show that type of quality, I think that would be something that separates him from the rest. But the bones are here for this to take off and go into a next direction. However, I go back to, Jason, you don't get there by him almost losing this first match without cheating, which is what happened. You don't get there by him just doing the same old in-ring routine. There has to be tweaks. They have to look at this. And this would be one that if I were him and Triple H and the whole creative team, I would go back and watch this show, every segment with him all over again, and say, what are we scrapping for next week? What is the direction of the character? Where do we want this to go? There were enough tweaks in there to really get him. He should not have been wearing a pretty boy jacket. He should that is in complete contrast to now the visual that they're trying to put forth of him, literally ring gear, literally with his hair, the whole thing. They should not be having him almost lose the match. They need to actually get him a more vicious streak, whether it's a vicious in cheating or just vicious for if he were to one day be a babyface for fans to get behind. Those are tweaks that need to come up.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to watch to see if it comes across as if, like, I think we should watch, given that Paul Heyman and Paul Levesque don't mess around with like their top programs, like
project. Yeah.
This is Austin Theory's now a project for them. He is a high draft pick at this point, in the sense that he's getting to mix with the Vision, and they're committed to that name. We got this logo on the screen as they're coming out. They're definitely leaning into it without Seth. I wasn't sure if they would, drop that or change it or anything. And Theory's in there. So there's things that they're doing now that might be portending what happens in the future in a way that doesn't land or resonate as what we think it should be, because we're mistaken on where it's heading. So I'll just say, for instance, me saying Theory should have shown a more vicious side. Well, if the storyline arc is by WrestleMania, he's not going to be at the Vision, and they're going to treat him poorly or ask him to do something, or have him, he's a pledge and he has to do something that he doesn't agree with or whatever. He might show he's got not only leadership, but like sort of a moral compass to what he does.
Yep.
And so maybe that's why he did a fancy dropkick. They want him to be a little bit flashy in contrast to Reed, this brute guy doing the tsunami, and Braun Breaker spearing people in half. They might want to keep people thinking about Theory as not a guy trying to be something he's not, but he's in a crisis mode. He's in a transition mode of, I need to take what I want. I've been complacent and hanging out with the wrong people. So hopefully I shouldn't even say hopefully. For sure, Paul Heyman has something in mind, or a variety of things in mind, of where this might go that they're aiming towards and building towards. And until it plays out, and some of it probably is dependent on how Theory connects with the crowd and how he does on the microphone and this new character. You don't know till you do it. But they probably have an ideal endpoint to this, or a big turning point in Act 1 of Theory's rehabilitation in mind. And hopefully when we look back, it all makes sense, the choices they made along the way. Just a couple things, some standard deviation, some good chat. Off-screen factors play a major role in pushes. Is Theory bright in real life? Does Heyman believe he can make it work at the level he desires? He looked better than ever in the ring, in my opinion. So throwing that out there. And Jay in Hartford goes, hopefully he's like Brett, Shawn, and Edge before him, who we followed on that journey to the main event. That will help him when he eventually turns face. Jay in Hartford goes, continues. He's young, good looking, decent on the mic, good in the ring, right story. He'll be a great face. Look at Dom. I think he has that journey going for him. So a couple things to add there. We'll go back to Jason now. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, here's the thing, right? It seemed like they were going to tease the breakup between Theory and Waller. That just got drawn out so much, and then they kind of dropped it because Theory got injured, and Waller sort of talked about him that he dropped the dead weight and all the rest of it. But Theory was getting some positive reactions, and fans were waiting for him to turn on Waller, but it never happened. Now, you could do something from a main event point of view with Logan Paul. Does Theory get tired of Logan Paul? And then you finally have Theory snap on Logan Paul. Now, that would definitely get him over, because nobody likes Logan Paul. And I'm convinced that Logan Paul, when he caught that microphone after Braun's promo, he was saying damn, because he was impressed with himself catching the microphone, not Braun's promo. So I'm going to say that, because that actually gives more heat to Paul. He's like, damn, man, look how cool I am. I caught this microphone, instead of not even worrying about what Braun had to say.
Fair enough.
No.
I mean, I don't know.
I think I think he was saying damn because of Braun's promo, but I'm trying to put more heat onto Logan Paul here. Yeah, I think he's like, damn, look how good I am. Now, I want to quickly move on. Yeah,
so I don't forget, by the way, it was Sergeant Slaughter, not Corporal Kirshner. Corporal Kirshner came to the AWA later. It was actually Sergeant Slaughter getting Greg Gagne all militarized and ready to having him do those workouts. I'm conflating two different eras of the AWA, and my memory let me down there. But the spirit of the remake was there. I just want to insert that because I got corrected by Derek Mitchell earlier, and I do not want the show to end without me correcting myself, because I feel bad about that. Anyway, go ahead.
With Gunther, Nick, I completely 100% agree with you as far as squaring this thing where he tapped out to Jey Uso. This is such a disconnect for a lot of fans that Jey Uso made Gunther tap out, then Gunther makes John Cena tap out. And you can tell with the book, look, everything since the moment Gunther has been on Raw, SmackDown, from NXT, they've been very meticulous in the way they've booked him, because he's championship wrestler, right? So like you guys were talking about, if he's not in championships, what do you do with him then? I mean, even when he lost it to Jey Uso, straight away put him in a feud with Pat McAfee so we can keep the heat going. We don't want him losing any of his heat. Then he wins that tournament, King of the Ring. He wins this tournament. He's a winner. And if he's not winning, then we've got to put him in heated feuds. But with this thing with Jey Uso, it's like they want him to have the you tapped out chance, but it seems like he hasn't addressed it. And I've always said, the only way Jey Uso could have beaten Gunther at WrestleMania was to channel Gunther. So Gunther could easily say, yeah, I tapped out, but I tapped out to live to fight another day. And I reclaimed the championship. John Cena tapped out. He ain't living to fight another day, and he ain't winning any more championships. So that's the difference between me and him. I feel like he needs to address this because someone of his stature should have an answer as to why he did tap out. And if the reason is he did it, and the only reason he did is because Jey Uso had to use a move that Gunther uses, and Gunther did it thinking for the future, he needs to square that because it is a bit of a disconnect. But I am intrigued to see what they do with him because, like I said, he's championship wrestler. It's very important. They're meticulous with the way they book him. And is he fighting for the championship come WrestleMania? Because you look at the promo, the promo for WrestleMania, the slogan is "It's anyone's game," meaning that I believe someone else is going to pop into the picture that we're not expecting at the table. Could that be Sami Zayn because it's in Saudi Arabia? Could it be another woman, a Bianca Belair or someone else? That's where I think they're heading. But I know you got CJ waiting. I don't want to take up too much time. I'll leave it at that. Good conversation, guys. Have a very Merry Christmas and all the very best for the new year. Thank you for all your work, Wade, and appreciate everyone in the chat too.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Nick, you want to add anything to what Jason said there?
Not really. I mean, I think that there's not a whole lot of great things that they can do to get, Gunther to address the past, but I think you can just simply lean in on, I have the most dangerous move in the WWE. I have the most dangerous move in wrestling. I am the expert of it. Everyone falls to it. I even fell to it once. And guess what? No one is ever going to get that move on me ever again.
Yep.
And then you move on from it.
Yeah. Own what you've done. Don't make the audience think you're trying to con them into forgetting something or pretending something didn't happen. Yeah.
But then there's a story there in case of if there is someone down the line one day who does put the sleeper on him,
Right. Yeah. Derek Mitchell goes with a super chat. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. Drew was Vince's chosen one 15 years ago, but it didn't pan out, taking him 10 years, including a firing, to return and become a main eventer. Let's see how Theory's new character develops. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's no singular path to stardom. Roman Reigns went through hard times, for sure. It was, it's interesting talk. I said, one of the things that didn't work with Roman Reigns was he didn't have, he was emotionally inaccessible to the audience. Like, as a babyface, you got to be emotionally accessible. You have to feel the role that Vince put him in. And there's a lot of types of babyfaces, but you got to connect with the audience. Steve Austin was a badass, but he cared about the audience. He interacted with them, and Roman felt above it. When Heyman was talking to Stephanie on her podcast, it's like he talked about how Roman was emotionally available in the bloodline in reacting to the Usos and the manipulation and the interpersonal dynamics. And so Theory needs to show that he's more than, oh my God, I got to remember my lines and I'm a deer in the headlights.
But funny, it's reported.
Say that again, Nick.
I'm sorry. It's something I think I didn't realize I was talking over you.
Oh, yeah, maybe there's a lag there. Yeah, so
there you go.
I'll just
so there was lag. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Theory needs to be more than a guy looking at the camera or the person he's talking to going, I hope I get my lines right, and I hope that this is passing what people in the back are scrutinizing me, and I'm under pressure, and I'm like, he has to get over the moment being too big for him and have confidence in his stride. But he needs to look at guys who didn't have it at the beginning. I mean, people should show him old footage of Bret Hart when he was doing jobs at house shows before the Hart Foundation, and how Jim Neidhart did all the talking for them when they were in that group, and then he turned into Bret Hart. Early Shawn Michaels promos in the AWA, it was kind of cringy when I look back at his AWA promos as the Midnight Rockers, but there was something there, but it was a little cringy. The Rock, my God, the Die Rocky Die. Steve Austin had his moments even as a ringmaster when it was. So just look at history in Roman Reigns too, and go, okay, you don't have to be perfect at the beginning, but study what made them eventually connect with the audience, and it was not feeling pressure and just relaxing into the position that you think that you're pretty sure you deserve.
Yeah, I actually think too there might be something. Again, I'm a fan of his, I haven't followed him in years. There might be something to looking at Chris Jericho's run from '99 to 2002 of how he navigated, because he came in young, thought there was confidence, went through tough times in terms of finding a character that worked, and that might be someone too for him to look at. I would say one of the things too about Roman Reigns, Wade, going back to that, about when he really, I actually think this is an underreported or underrecognized element of, when he turned heel was he got veneers on his teeth. I mean, there was no question that visually there was something very different about him. And yeah, there's, we have the shaved head for Austin Theory too, but when Roman did that, that was a signal of, he is what we thought he was. So he's heel also, but we always thought he was more superficial. We always thought he was more of the corporate guy. We always knew he wasn't really the man of the people and all that.
Yeah, he didn't care about the fans. Yeah,
and that was an actual visual signal. When he first did the open mouth smile, and you're like, wait a minute, those are new. It's an example of embracing something physical that really emphasizes the internal. Mm-hmm. And Theory's got to figure out what that is.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's bring CJ into the conversation here. CJ, welcome. We haven't talked much about Bayley.
Ding dong, hello.
But I believe you will talk about Bayley tonight.
Yes, I'm talking.
Lyra Valkyria slapping her and Bayley snapping.
Yeah, what did you think about that?
Intense.
Because they haven't done that since, I think, the Australian show.
It's been. I'm interested to talk to Nick and get his take on this because Lyra was struggling. Like when you talk about Austin,
he's an idiot. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Lyra was struggling to gain traction, but you could tell management said, you know what? There's some traits here we believe in, but man, she's dying out there on the microphone. The crowd's not reacting to her matches. There's been this transformation where she's kind of she's a little sister who's helping big sister now instead of what's that? Gaining confidence? Yeah, exactly. We're watching her on a journey. Yeah. So how do you think that's working out, Nick, with the Lyra story with Bayley?
Yeah, it's working. Here's the other thing I'm going to say with Lyra finding that story with Bayley. She was another one of those individuals. When we're talking about women wrestlers who are, were brought up in mass, it feels like, over the past couple of years. And then, they have an initial debut, and then you're kind of trying to figure out, wait a minute, visually, okay, she kind of has some similar traits to Roxanne Perez or, all kinds of things like. But now you're starting to see personality. You're starting to see character development. You're starting to see connection. There's a natural connection between her and Bayley. I like the elements for both too. Even as I was watching that segment today, the in-ring segment, I couldn't help but think, but this was Bayley. Like Bayley was a big deal at some point, but it's also what she's doing is meaningful. Like this is meaningful for the future for Lyra. So listen, it's not the highest level up the card. I don't think it's going to be fast track to Women's World Championship. And maybe I could be wrong there, but I think for right now it works. And it's not one of those women programs that WWE is known to have where it's like there's not really a program there. It's just a quirky character that is now just doing individual matches. It feels like there's an intentional character development there.
CJ.
Yeah. I agree with him on Lyra. She's gaining confidence again. And do you think they're going to really go for the tag titles now? I know they lost a chance like a month or so ago, but
yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Because
that sounds
like a week or two ago they were talking to Adam Pearce about it. So
yeah, I think that is probably a direction that they're going. I think one of the things that I do like, if that is the direction, is listen, I hate, and I've said this before, when there's suddenly some chemistry between two people in the women's division, suddenly they're not only just a tag team, but they're suddenly champions too. Like there should be a little bit of a journey that goes on there before they win the titles or even are fighting for the titles. So if that's the case, I think that makes good sense.
I agree, but I think there should be a journey to every title, really. I don't think it should feel random.
Right. No, I think
I guess you can do that once in a while just to
mix it up.
Sure people are not like falling asleep or pay attention to the show when they think it's important, but for the most part, there should definitely always be a journey to it.
Yep, absolutely.
And I tell you that, CJ, it's like it's not about Bayley winning all the time or being champion all the time. You just want her to be on a journey that shows they're putting time and effort into her character. And is her character, I mean, and Corey Graves talked about it. Like, Bayley wants to help the next generation, but not at the expense of her win-loss record. And she's melting down over Saturday Night's Main Event because she wants to be a representative, but she doesn't want. And it's kind of like the Maxine Dupree line. Becky, when I look at you, I see what's going on. You're worried you have peaked. And that's what snapped Becky. And people go, ooh, Becky's been around a long time. I could see that. With Bayley, you go, yeah, she is now. It's weird to say, but an elder statesman of that division. There's young wrestlers who are associating with her. And when she loses, she feels she loses the one thing that she's got left, which is the credibility to be a locker room leader. And if she's losing, even to someone she doesn't despise and she's a good sport about it, it can mess with her head in a way that Lyra, the good friend, needs to go, hey, don't get over it. You're fine. You win some, you lose some.
Bayley.
You're still Bayley. Be intense and go win. And so, I mean, I think this is a well-told story, Nick.
Yeah.
Also, my complaint wasn't just because she's not champion right now.
Yeah.
Like, until Saturday Night's Main Event, she wasn't on a PLE since Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
She was constantly on TV, but, like, the big shows were coming up, and she kept on getting snubbed. But if you had to guess, if they are going to give them the tag titles, do you think it might go all the way till Mania, or do you think a little before then? What's your guess on that?
I could see Royal Rumble, quite honestly. Oh no, but that won't make sense because they're probably going to be in the matches. I don't know, maybe like Elimination Chamber or something along those lines.
All right, cool.
All right.
CJ, any thoughts?
I
Anything
could
else on
work
the
with
show?
that.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Damn, I forgot. I'm not gonna keep everybody up.
That's right. Well, especially Nick. It's past Nick's bedtime. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not with your
by about 2 hours.
Yeah.
By about 2
have
hours.
a good one.
Thanks, CJ. Glad you called. All right, Nick. Anything else? Oh, you know what? We're talking about Becky. I got an email here. Since we already got political ones. Jesse.
Well, you got political ones.
Yeah, true. Jesse. Yep. Well, yeah, exactly. Jesse said, the first time I heard Becky deliver the Sports Illustrated Says So Too line, I thought she was copying Trump's speaking style. Just imagine his stupid voice saying, I'm not the only one who's saying it. Tonight, she made it very clear what she's doing. How do you feel about this approach? Is this genius or walking some uncomfortable line? One thing I hope she does, which would fit the Becky Trump persona, interesting, is to abandon the IC title. I hope she sees Maxine as too much of a hassle and just moves on to the world title. What kind of entitlement would somebody have to possess to think they deserve a world title match after losing the IC title? Thanks for your time, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say on the topic. Nick, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. Listen, Becky's character is she's Becky, but I think there's been such inconsistency with Becky over the years, and maybe you disagree with me. I don't know. I'm not a Becky guy. I've always said that. I think she's obviously a superstar performer, world class in so many different ways, and seemingly like a good person, but to me, I just in the ring has never really done it for me. But I also think more so character wise, like even that I was thinking today, Wade, with introducing her as the man, Becky Lynch. It's like obviously this is closer to big time Bex than the man, but maybe that irony is supposed to be doing something. It's just not doing it for me. And again, I think there's been an inconsistency about her. She's been losing a lot, but then you're supposed to be surprised when she's losing now. And I don't know. Sure, you can invoke Trump, you can invoke anything, but I think the character she played today is dissimilar from the character she was doing as Seth Rollins' wife in the CM Punk feud. And I don't think either one of them were so great. I think with a lot of these wrestlers, we're on more borrowed time than you assume that you are. And I think that I wish they were doing more meaningful things and having more powerful characters. And I think Maxine Dupree was great in that segment, and she was made to be great because Becky was effective in her heel role. But it doesn't mean I think long-term this is the best presentation of her either.
Quick thoughts on the Judgment Day and what they're doing with Liv, Roxanne, and Raquel.
Yeah, I thought that was a mess. I thought that the whole thing was stupid. I think Raquel looked really bad in the segment. Just something about her looked clunky, and I didn't love the attire on them, and I'm not talking about the women attire. I just didn't think it matched the Judgment Day. Like they should look visually like they belong together, and they didn't. Everything about that looked clunky and forced and stupid, and I just didn't like it.
All right, very good. Nick, anything else you want to bring up before we sign off here?
Well, Sean, these people, look, I can't even say anything without people jumping in. They always they stir in the pot saying, I'm wrong about Becky. I'm wrong about this. I'm wrong about that and everything. Come listen to me be wrong on the Nikki's Club, guys. I would love it. I love it so much. But
what's your email?
Else.
Do you have a show email that you want to share?
Yeah, Nicholas.Barbati, NICHOLAS.BARBATI @gmail.com. Send me some notes, some things you'd like to have chatted about. But no, I actually thought it was a good show. You know, Wade, we have done a few Christmas shows over the years. We literally did a show on Christmas in 2020, you and I. That was when Big E won, I think, the Intercontinental Championship in a steel cage match or whatever. I didn't leave this show feeling any form of Christmas spirit added to this, but I didn't think it was a meaningless show either. I think they were trying things out character-wise that you're going to see further developed in the weeks ahead, and I think that made this a not meaningless show. And I think it was fine viewing. It was a breezy viewing, not having commercials too. I mean, it was like. Yeah. It was a really good presentation, I think, overall. And you know, we've gotten so far from doing the eggnog matches and the big parties in the locker room and everything, and I don't miss those. You know, I think that this was very good.
Awesome. Well, everyone, go VIP. Check out Nick's show, PWTorch.com/go VIP. Have a great week, everybody. I've got Greg Parks on the flagship tomorrow, so if you've got a question for the flagship or a topic suggestion or a pushback on anything I've been saying on the shows or others have been, Wade Keller Podcast @gmail.com, Wade Keller Podcast @gmail.com. That'll drop tomorrow night, Tuesday night, December 23rd, the flagship this week. So you're invited to participate in that. Nick, I'm so glad this worked out, and I hope we can do this more often than we have in the last few years. And on Monday nights, and I really enjoy talking wrestling with you. And obviously, the almost everyone in the chat does too. Almost everyone, but you know what can you do? Yeah, almost everyone. That's pretty good.
Yep,
that's pretty
privileged. You have some people that hate. You know. Thank you, Wade, for having me.
Very good. Yep. Sean says, "Go VIP and Merry Christmas, everyone." Sadler says, "Happy holidays, people." Standard Deviation says, "Thanks, Wade. Thanks, Nick. I always appreciate your takes and look forward to the next Nikki's Club." CJ says, "Good night. Happy holidays, everyone." Goodfella says, "Cheers, host. Cheers." Standard Deviation says, "Happy holidays, all." Okay, I think I got them all. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, Wade.